Hey there, this is Chad from Heroes and Legends, and today is March 4th, 2015, and it is the third official day of Dragons of Tarkir spoilers. And today we have 13 new cards to look at, and we also have some additional information regarding promos for Buy Box, Launch Day, and Game Day. So before we get started, just a reminder, if you haven't already, it's a good time to subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing videos every day that we have spoilers, so we want to make sure you stay up to date and we get the information directly to you as quickly as we can. So let's jump in. First little tidbit of information we got today is here's a look of what the Game Day Champion playmat will look like. And it looks like we have Sarkhan on it, so good assumption, although eventually we'll spoil a Sarkhan Planeswalker card. So actually very nice art, very cool looking playmat. We also found out today that the Buy a Box promo is going to be Ujete's Command. We won't go through that card since it has already been spoiled, but I just wanted to make sure we show the new art. And we also had two other promos shown. The Launch Day promo, this is the first time we're really seeing it in the English version, so I wanted to get that to you, although it has been already spoiled. And one of the Game Day promos is actually the top 8 promo, Thunderbreak Regent, which also has already been spoiled, but wanted to let you see that full extended art. So from this point forward, everything else is going to be a new card. Our first spoiled card today is Scaleguard Sentinels, and this is the extended art Game Day promo version of it, and it costs 2 green. It's a 2/3 creature, and it has an additional casting cost that you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. If you do, it gets a +1/+1 counter when it enters the battlefield, or if you have another dragon under your control, it gets a +1/+1 counter as it enters the battlefield. So it costs 2 green, which makes it a little more difficult to cast, especially if in your typical limited games where you're probably playing 2, and the way it has been going anyway, 3 colors, although maybe that changes with Dragons of Tarkir. So it's not a card you want to bet on the fact that it's going to be really a 2 in your curve. It might be more like a 3 or a 4, but it is a decent limited card. It potentially can come in as a 3/4 relatively easily with a dragon strategy. So decent limited card. Our next card today is Avon Sunstriker, 2 white, 1 colorless, and he's a 1/1 bird warrior with flying. He has double strike, and he has the Megamorph ability for 1 white and 4 colorless. So you can pay the extra to put him down as a morph and then flip him to get a 2/2 flying double strike. And that's actually pretty strong in limited. He's got the evasion with flying, he's got the double strike to get the extra damage across. So even if you play him as a 1/1 double strike, that's still going in for 2 damage in the air and doing 1 point of first strike damage. And if you are able to maybe later in the game do the Megamorph ability, he's a pretty strong force that your opponent's going to have to deal with. It's another good limited card. Our next card is Good Ol' Lurker. He's 1 blue for a 1/1. He can't be blocked, and he has a 1 blue Megamorph, so he could be a 2/2 potentially. What's kind of interesting about him is he can't be blocked, but he doesn't have the clause that he can't block, so he can be used as a blocker for what that's worth. A little different. Could be a decent card in some limited decks. Next one is Meringue River Skeleton, 1 black, 1 colorless. He's a 1/1 with 1 black regeneration. So he's basically a Drudge Skeleton, which is pretty decent. And on top of that, he has the Megamorph ability for 1 black and 3 colorless, so he could potentially be a 2/2 Drudge Skeleton. One black to regenerate, that's a powerful effect. He's going to be a great blocker. He can block any big creature that doesn't have trample and be economical for you. Fantastic limited card. Next one's Dragon Fodder. This one is a reprint. Originally, I believe it was in Shards of Allura. 1 red, 1 colorless, and you get to put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens into the battlefield. Again, decent limited card. It's going to go along with some synergies, I'm sure, in this set. And we already saw from cons there were cards that let you put a couple goblins into play or 3 goblins into play. So this will play into those similar strategies. And it's just a staple, common, decent limited card. Next one, Dragonlord Servant, 1 red, 1 colorless. Dragon spells you cast, cost 1 less to cast, 1/3. And again, here's another great limited card. This could definitely have some implications too in Commander for those dragon decks that I'm sure we'll be seeing in Commander more and more once this set comes out. But yeah, it's going to help you get your dragons out faster. So it's cool. It works kind of as mini ramp for decks that are dragon heavy, and we may see a lot of limited decks that are dragon heavy considering how many dragons we've already seen spoiled. Next one is Lightning Berserker. It's 1 red for a 1/1, and he has the fire breathing ability, so you can pump up his power for red mana. And he also has a 1 red dash, so he's interesting. You can get him across kind of on almost like a haste creature on your first turn, and then even put him down and attack again and pump him for another point of damage. So he's a real good aggressive card. He's a fantastic aggressive creature, and whenever you're dealing with the aggressive strategy in limited, he's going to be really good for you. Could he cross over into standard? He might. Don't know if he's going to be the go-to one drop, but if a deck is looking for another one drop aggressive creature, he could fill that hole. And our next card today is Stormcrack Elemental. We've seen a lot of red cards spoiled today. 1 red, 5 colorless. He's a 5/5 trampler, but he has Megamorph for 2 red and 4 colorless, so he potentially could be a 6/6 trampler. Very, very strong limited creature. I mean, fantastic limited bomb. This is the type of creature you want. He's easily, if you're playing multiple colors and you're having some issues getting extra red mana, he's an easy 5/5 trample. If you got your red mana and you have a turn to kind of play around with the morph, he's a 6/6 trample, even better. So very, very good limited card. Our next green card now is Foe Razor Regent. 2 green, 5 colorless. He's a 4/5 dragon. He's got flying. When he enters the battlefield, you may have it fight target creature you don't control. And whenever a creature you control fights, put 2+1/+1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. So almost feels like sort of a quasi bolster, but this card comes into play, gets to take out a creature and works as removal, then gets pumped at the end of the turn, and then it also opens up the fact if you have Savage Punch or something like that going on where you're fighting again, you're going to get more bonus from this guy. So he costs 7. That's gonna price him out of constructed, but he's a rare. He's going to be a great limited bomb, and he won't show up all the time being a rare, but when he does, your opponent's going to have to deal with him. Our next card is Salt Road Ambushers. 1 green, 3 colorless. It's a 3/3. Whenever another permanent you control is turned face up, if it's a creature, put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and it has a Megamorph for 2 green and 3 colorless, which will make it a 4/4. So you start combining this with Megamorphs, and they're morphing with basically 3+1/+1 counters. That's significant. So he's not a bad body for 4 mana. I mean, he's a hill giant. He's a 3/3. That's not bad at all. And he even has the possibility of being a 4/4. So he in himself is a kind of a force to be reckoned with. And then all of a sudden, he's pumping up anything that you morph, and especially Megamorph. That's a pretty strong limited card right there. It's going to be and it's an uncommon, so you're going to see a lot of it. This is going to be something you're going to have to be prepared to play against whenever you see your opponent playing green, and you need to hold removal for this because this could really tilt a game. Evolving Wilds is back, so this has been reprinted, and if you haven't played with it before, you basically tap and sack it, and you get to go to your library and pull a basic land card. It comes into play tapped, you shuffle your library. It's a great way to fix mana, especially if you're playing multicolored decks. It's just a nice staple to have in limited. Sometimes it even makes the jump into constructed into standard. I've seen that happen from time to time. Don't know if this standard will need it, but it's a fantastic limited card. Our next card was spoiled with a Spanish language card, so it's been translated here. And this is Dragonlord Caligan. He costs 1 black, 1 red, 4 colorless. He's a 6/5 legendary. He's another one of the Elder Dragon legends. He has flying and haste, and other creatures you control have haste. Whenever an opponent casts a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name as a card in their graveyard, that player loses 10 life. So that side ability is interesting to me because that's obviously meant for constructed, and specifically probably standard, maybe modern. However, he does cost 6, and he's got 2 different colors, so he's not the easiest creature to get out, which makes me feel like he's going to be a barrier to really play in constructed. Not impossible if you really feel that that ability is going to be strong enough. It does tie your opponent's hands a little bit. It doesn't allow you to cast the same creature or planeswalker. However, it would be a lot more devastating if it stops sorceries and instants. Then you might see people trying to force this card into constructed. So as it stands, I think it's trying to get pushed into constructed. Don't know if it's really going to make it there. But you know what? Awesome limited card. And this is a mythic rare, so it's got that kind of mythic flavor to it. And you put this out in a game of limited, you get a 6/5 flyer with haste, so he just goes in right away. And on top of that, every other creature you play now has haste. So very awesome limited card. And our last spoiler today is exciting. It's a Planeswalker. Narset Transcendent. 1 white, 1 blue, and 2 colorless. She's got 6 loyalty counters. And her +1 is look at the top card of your library. If it's a non-creature, non-land card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. -2, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell from your hand this turn, it gains rebound. And -9, you get an emblem with your opponents can't cast non-creature spells. We'll start with her ultimate because I find that interesting. It's a little conditional. So in most games of limited, it's going to hurt your opponent and it's going to stop them from perhaps casting removal on you. But it feels like a long way to go for just that effect because they're still going to be able to put out their big creatures, their houses are still going to come out. So it doesn't necessarily win you the game. And I kind of like that. I like these ultimates, making it maybe harder for your opponent to win, but not just being a scoop. Because a lot of times we've all been there. The Planeswalker ultimate is just a scoop, right? So I kind of like the fact that your opponent still has a chance to win after an ultimate. But for what it's worth, it's not as powerful as other ultimates we've seen in the past. I like the -2 ability as well, that you're basically going to be able to rebound your instant and sorceries. That's awesome for a direct damage deck. However, direct damage is red. It's going to have some relevancy, obviously, to Jeskai decks and limited, and that's where it'll probably be more fun. +1, another Jeskai ability to kind of pull non-creature, non-land spells. So you're trying to get your instants and sorceries. So that, to me, from a constructed standpoint, all of a sudden it feels more like Legacy. However, she costs 4, and she's 2 different colors. So is she going to just fit into Legacy deck? Probably not. So it's kind of an interesting card. I think she's a really good limited Planeswalker. And, Planeswalkers and limited are always a blowout. I think she's a really good limited Planeswalker. You're going to get some card advantage off her. I don't know if there's a place for her in constructed, though, which maybe will keep her value down a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this particular Planeswalker. And this is one of those cards that's hard to guess without playing with it, quite honestly. It could be the biggest bomb in the world, and it's just really hard to see until you're sitting there and realize how much card advantage you are actually getting off it. Have to think 40% of your deck is probably going to be lands, right? And then how much of your deck is going to be creatures? So it's a smaller portion of extra cards you're going to be drawing, but is it enough to just power you through? It could very well. And having said that, those were our 13 new cards. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, have a great day.